Welcome to St. Anthony's Catholic Church in Farnham Royal, Slough, England. Today, February 22nd, 2026, the first Sunday of Lent. Today's Gospel is from Matthew chapter 4, verses 1 to 11. Jesus fasts for 40 days and is tempted. At that time, Jesus was led up by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. And after fasting 40 days and 40 nights, he was hungry. And the tempter came and said to him, "If you are the Son of God, command these stones to become loaves of bread." But he answered, "It is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God." Then the devil took him to the holy city and set him on the pinnacle of the temple and said to him, "If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down, for it is written, he will command his angels concerning you, and on their hands they will bear you up, lest you strike your foot against a stone." Jesus said to him, "Again it is written, you shall not put the Lord your God to the test." Again the devil took him to a very high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and their glory. And he said to him, "All these I will give you if you will fall down and worship me." Then Jesus said to him, "Begone, Satan, for it is written, you shall worship the Lord your God, and him only shall you serve." Then the devil left him, and behold, angels came and were ministering to him.
Jesus was led up by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. Verse we heard this morning from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 4, verses 1 to 11. Every first Sunday of Lent, the church presents different accounts of the temptation of Jesus Christ. It could be from the Gospel of Matthew, or Mark, or Luke, depending on the liturgical year. Although each gospel emphasizes something unique, but the stories are more or less the same. That Jesus Christ was tempted in the wilderness by the devil in 3 different ways. Over the years, we have reflected on this story from different dimensions. We have examined and reflected on why Jesus was tempted, how the Satan tempted him, the different strategies he used, the responses Jesus gave and their meanings, what it means to be tempted, even for us as Christians. Perhaps today, let us look at something very different. Let us consider the location where the temptation happened, where the temptation took place. The gospel we read said that Jesus was led into the desert. Some versions we use into the wilderness, like the one we read this morning. So whether desert or wilderness, we shall be interchanging the two words. That Jesus was led into the wilderness, meaning that the temptation of Jesus happened in the wilderness because that was where he was at the time. So, what does it mean for us, therefore, to be in the wilderness, to be in the desert? Geographically, wilderness or desert is a wide, uncultivated, and uninhabited piece of land. It could also be described as an abandoned or neglected area. No matter how you try to define wilderness or desert, certain characteristics are prominent. That desert or wilderness is a lonely place, dry, silent, harsh, empty, and uninhabited. Now, spiritually, to be in the wilderness or to be in the desert is that period in our individual lives, that phase of our spiritual journey that is marked by profound dryness, emptiness, isolation, the feeling that God is distant. Prayer feels mechanical. Worship feels flat and routine. Your normal spiritual exercises feel meaningless. Nothing makes so much sense to you again. You struggle to find connection with God and even with people around you. You don't feel anything, neither joy nor sorrow. You're just there. No enthusiasm, nothing is happening in your spiritual life. You have lost interest in many things. People in these states usually make statements like, oh, the church is boring. What is the essence of praying if God has made up his mind on what to do? I think I'm becoming less religious. And people who find themselves in this kind of spiritual dryness and emptiness, they are usually tired and confused. And because of the confused state of their mind, they are often desperate for anything that could offer them an immediate relief or promise them an immediate escape from their situation. And because of their vulnerability, therefore, they become an easy catch for the devil to tempt them with some enticing offers, deceptive, fanciful. And that was exactly the state Jesus was when Satan tempted him. After fasting for 40 days and 40 nights in a lonely desert, he was indeed tired, he was hungry, he was in fact most vulnerable. And so Satan approached him with 3 offers. Number 1, an assurance of food. Learn that you are hungry. These stones can become food, you know. The second one, protection. I'll protect you. Even if you fall down from here, the angels will be there to guide you. You'll be protected. Nothing will happen to you. And the third one, a worldly kingdom of glory and riches. Someone in that state of mind, someone in that situation, these offers are more or less irresistible. So generally speaking, and spiritually, in the spiritual sense, to be in the wilderness is to be in a period of spiritual dryness, emptiness, when you don't hear anything, when nothing is happening. Just like when you go to the desert, you don't hear anything, it is empty, nothing is happening there, it is dry. However, there is something about Jesus going into the wilderness. The Bible said that he was led into the wilderness, meaning that his being in the wilderness was not by chance, it was not a mistake, it was not by accident, it was not even as a punishment. It was intentional. It was part of God's plan. And then, although it became for him a place of temptation and trial, but he was able to turn it around. And therefore, for us who are believers, who are disciples of Jesus Christ, who are indeed members of God's family, being in the desert could also mean a time of renewal, a time of encounter, a time of strengthening our faith. The man Moses in the Bible encountered God in the wilderness. He didn't encounter God when he was in the palace of the king. He went into the wilderness to look after the flock of his in-law, and then he encountered God. So for David, the many encounters he had with God happened in the desert. It became for him a time of establishing relationship, a time of equipping him for his mission. It was also a time when he got his calling. At that dry, empty, desolate place, a moment. And for the people of Israel, they passed through the wilderness, and the experiences were quite challenging. They suffered starvation, they suffered a lot of things. But it was also a place where they established a special covenant and relationship with God, where their relationship with God deepened within the context of their experiences in the desert. It was also for them a passage through which they went and got to the promised land. They went through wilderness before they got into the promised land. And then when John the Baptist appeared, he spent time in the wilderness. It was for him a time of formation. He was able to get himself ready in order to identify the Messiah and to announce him. And for Jesus, being in the desert was, beside being a place of temptation, as I said, it was also a place for him to get himself prepared for his public ministry. And so, dear friends, for us, whether you are going through spiritual dryness, emptiness, or emotional disconnect, you are in your own deserts. You are not feeling anything. For us, following the example of Jesus Christ, being in such state could also be for us a sign of a time of renewal. It shouldn't be for us, therefore, an indication of God's absence. Rather, desert for us is God's workshop, where God trains, where God strengthens, and where God renews his own people. Sometimes you don't feel like it. So the question is, have you sometimes been in that situation when you feel that you're going through your own dryness, emptiness, you are in the desert of your own? Yes, I have been many times. In fact, for me, it is like a periodic experience. I give you a life example. This morning, I woke up in the morning, there was no enthusiasm. I was so sad, I was so tired. I was wondering, why should today be Sunday? Why can't today be Thursday? You know what happened on Thursday? My day off. So I was wondering, why should today be a Sunday? 4 masses for me, what am I going to do? There was no joy. There was no enthusiasm. I couldn't find the reason to come here to do the masses because I was so dry. I picked up my morning prayer book. I couldn't read it because I was so disconnected. My heart was cold. In fact, I wanted to call in sick. I wanted to call in sick so that the deacon could do whatever he can do, because I hadn't the enthusiasm. I couldn't even pray. I was on my bed, grumbling until I looked at the watch and it was 10 minutes to the first mass and I ran away. When I came for the first mass, I was struggling, I wasn't fully into it. Then I went for the second mass. I got into it fully. Here I am, happy and full of enthusiasm. So sometimes it happens. So it is not that, I think the way out of it is when you feel that dryness, when you feel that emptiness, keep doing what you've been doing. Sometimes the renewal happens underground. Although the prayer may not make sense to you, keep mumbling it, keep saying it. If it happens, keep showing up here, keep coming here. If others are standing, just stand. If others are sitting, just sit. Keep receiving the sacrament. If they're needing that, kneel down. Because sometimes it's not just about what you feel. God works underground. It could be a moment to renew us, to refresh our faith, and to reconnect with him. So, dear friends, as we begin the period of Lent, it is a period to journey into ourselves, to renew ourselves. So we can say actually that Lent is our own desert moment, our own time of being in the wilderness, when we shall face a lot of challenges, but like Jesus, he recorded his victory in the desert. We too will also record our victory, because our desert experiences will give us a time of renewal, strengthening, and also a time of transformation. And a word for you, Daniela, who will be today, or in a few minutes' time, will be sent the rite of sending, which is a moment when someone who is either a catechumen or a candidate for full Christian initiation for Easter Vigil celebration. It is the moment when the community will send the person to meet the bishop, as she's going to meet the bishop with other candidates from the whole diocese today, I think at 3 p.m. in the cathedral. So we are sending him forth as our own candidate, and we are testifying that having known him today as a candidate that is preparing for full commission, full installation, and full initiation into the church, that we are supporting we are supporting her with our prayers, and that we are assuring you that we are behind you. Just as we are sending you with our prayers, we are always with you in your journey of life. But a note of caution, just also for those who are preparing for other sacraments, especially First Holy Communion. You may feel so excited about what you are preparing now. You may feel so excited to receive the sacrament. I warn you, the excitement is not steady. Sometimes it goes down and comes up again. How you manage it makes the difference. But a time will come when you feel a little bit dry, when you feel a little bit empty. It is your desert moment. Use it as a time to renew yourself, to reconnect with God, and also a time to make yourself more available. So we shall now do the rite of sending, and then I will invite the cactus to please lead us.
Follow us for weekly gospel and homily service.